I can't decide where I want the tougher games. I can't decide if I want them later in the season or early in the season. And here's why. The Niners always start slow early in the
Mm-hmm.
year. In his career, in his tenure in San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan is 9-10 in September, and he's worse in October. He's 11-16 in October. So it's like, hey, if the Niners are going to lose these games anyway, make them lose to the hard teams, because I don't want them to lose to the teams that we think are easier and then also have to battle it out in these hard games. Like we saw them lose to the Bears in week 1, who finished with the number 1 draft pick. So, and I know it was a monsoon, but still, it's not like they were lighting up the scoreboard anyway. So maybe it's like, hey, put some of the tougher games early in the schedule and give me the games, give me the Tampa Bays, the Cardinals games, the Browns game. I think will be an easier game. Give me all that stuff later in the year when we're rolling.
Yeah, I would say probably tougher games later in the season. Normally, I would want them more kind of mixed, but the Niners seem to be rolling normally at the end of the year. I do worry, though, that if they get stacked in the beginning, like you were talking about, you can't keep counting on having this, hey, we're going to decide to be good now and reel off a
Flip the
bunch of
switch.
wins. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you don't want to count on that. So I feel like I'd rather start with the easy games and try to actually get a good start to the
Mm-hmm.
season for once. And if I'm being honest, I hadn't thought about this right away, but it just popped in my head like, give me some of the easier games because Trey Lance might be starting early in the year.
That was where I was going next. Whoever it is, though, right? Because Kyle's going to have to make that call at some point if Brock is going to regain the starting. Well, he'll have to decide. But like somebody's going to be starting for the Niners, and they may be, playing well if it's if they start against teams with bad defenses. The Cardinals, I think the Rams defense is going to be down a little bit. The Bucks defense
The
stinks.
Rams defense is
Like,
going to be terrible.
so that's what I mean. So that's going to affect things too from a quarterback perspective. Trey Lance can come in and hit the ground running. All of a sudden, that makes Kyle's decision a lot tougher. Or does Kyle look at it like this? Does he say, you know what? We started off the year with some cupcakes, but I know come week 7, week 8, week 9, that's when our schedule gets really hard. Maybe I should just go back to Brock because I feel more comfortable with Brock. See, that's what I mean. Like, that's why I'm so excited, because the order, I feel like, of all these games changes the decision making process.
I mean, to me, like either way, I want a few easy games early because it's either going to be Trey Lance is starting. I would like to have him have a chance of not having to go against, the Eagles defense. Obviously, that one's week 13, but I don't want to see him have to face like a really hard game starting right out or going to Seattle or something like that. But on the other hand, if Brock is back for week 1, I don't want him to have the tough games where he's going to get beat up right off the bat. I want him to have a couple
Right.
cupcakes so that he can get back up to speed and work off the rust. So
Yeah.
either
You don't
way,
want
I kind of want a couple easier games. Not necessarily like a chunk of 5 or 6 to where your entire second half of the season is a gauntlet,
to.
but like yeah, a couple early on.
And you don't want, and it doesn't look like it's going to be this way, you wouldn't want Brock's first game back to be the Eagles, right? Just from a mental perspective.
Yeah.
He's got to get over some hurdles there. You don't want him to face the exact team that injured him and jeopardize his entire career right off the bat. But it looks like that's not going
Just
to happen because
don't give me a Jacksonville. I'm looking at the teams down there because I can see the preview of your little schedule. Don't give me a Jacksonville or say a Washington or even Tampa this year. I don't want an easy game before or after the Eagles game because I feel like they're going to be focusing on that Eagles
yeah,
game. You don't want a downer game right before.
the old trap game. You want to avoid but even afterwards, like, okay, let's say they play the Eagles and it's a really close game and they gut it out and they win. Then is the next week like a letdown week? So yeah, you know what I want? I want the Eagles game and a bye week, or I want the
Yeah,
bye to be on either side of the Eagles game.
that's
That's
what
what I want.
I'm hoping week 12 is the bye week. Um,
Yep.
I really don't want to see like, wouldn't it suck to go all the way to like say play in Philly and then have to come back and host like a Lamar Jackson
Oh, on a Thursday.
Ravens or a Joe Burrow Bengals. I don't want to face an elite quarterback coming back because that Philly game is going to be a physical bloodbath. The trenches are going to be worn down.
Yes.
The team's going to be hurting after that game. And I really don't want to see a short week. Like, don't give us a freaking Thursday
Yes.
game after that.
Don't
I
give
will
us
be really mad if there's a Thursday game in week 14.
Yeah, that is one thing. That's like the disaster scenario. Even if it's like a Thursday game against the Cardinals, which I don't think it would be because they've eliminated the idea that every team gets a primetime game now, I believe. And so that the Thursday slate is probably going to be a lot better than it has been in years past.
Right.
So it might not be like an easier game like the Cardinals game. Yeah, you could potentially have the Eagles game and then Thursday night game against a Burrow or a Lamar Jackson or Trevor Lawrence. If people think he's going to pick your quarterback that you think is really good, you don't want him in that spot.